Welcome to P&L, Priorities and Lifestyle, with your host, Rob Schulz. Rob is the founder and president of Schulz Wealth. All opinions expressed by Rob and his guest are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Schulz Wealth. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Please refer to our website for more information.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to P&L, Priorities and Lifestyle. This is the podcast. I'm Rob Schulz, and I have with us Dan Phillips, franchisee owner extraordinaire. Really excited to have Dan on because not only has he owned a business successfully, he sold it successfully, and what that was 4 years ago, and now you're in business again, which happens so often that I really want to talk to you, Dan, about that. We've known each other a long time, haven't we? Yeah.
Probably 30 years, close to it?
Yeah, close to it.
Yeah.
So it's great to have you on. Thanks for coming.
I'm glad to be here, thank you.
Yeah, so let's talk about business owner stuff.
Okay.
At some point a long time ago, you were not a business owner. What were you doing back then?
Well, not to go through my whole history, but I started out working as a controller for some businesses, and I really started as an accountant for McDonald's, and I became controller for a waste management division. I was brought out to Texas from Florida. We actually lived in Florida at that time by a person I knew in the waste industry who got me into general management with the waste industry and got out of the controller side of it because you make more money as a general manager. So he brought me to Texas.
But you're a numbers guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And not all business owners are numbers guys, as you're finding out.
As I find, yes, I'm well aware. So definitely a numbers guy. Probably the thing I like doing the best is the number stuff. But,
sure.
You know, when you own a business, you do everything. So
okay. So you were here with waste management.
I actually came here with a company named Laidlaw.
Laidlaw.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Laidlaw. And worked for them. You know, it's funny when you look back on your life. It seemed like it was so long I worked for them, but I actually worked for them here for 5 or 6 years before we bought our Fast Signs franchise.
So when did you start thinking about becoming a franchisee?
Okay, so I probably started we bought in 95. Probably started about 90. Probably a year and a half or so before we actually did it.
Okay.
Main thing was I just had a very high stress job, dealt with a lot of different things as I was actually a division manager, then a district operations manager in the waste industry, which a lot of things going on in that business. And really wasn't looking for, I didn't go look at a bunch of different businesses. You know, some people do that. They'll get tested, they do all this stuff, and what am I going to fit best in and all this.
Yeah.
I owned a Fast Signs. I actually used to use Fast Signs when I was in the waste industry.
Okay.
So, and I remember I tell everybody this story. I went into one of them one time, and I said to her, she showed me that it was all computerized and everything at that point, which this was early 90s, so that was a big deal.
Sure.
And I said, well, boy, anybody knows how to use a computer. Any idiot can do that. You know, I thought I had to be all creative and all this, and she just kind of looked at me like, you know. So that's kind of what got the ball rolling in that particular business. And we lucked out, and we're actually able to get into one we lived in Mansfield. We were able to get into one in South Arlington, close to home. So
yeah.
So anyhow,
that's awesome. So you got in, and then what happened? Usually the first year's kind of hard.
We actually had a game plan. When I say we, I'm my wife and I. Yeah. Obviously, we were partners in it. Our game plan originally was I would actually continue to work for 2 years. Mm-hmm. That wasn't the original game plan, but when we really got into it, we decided I had a pretty good job. I was making decent money. I'd continue to work for 2 years. She'd run it, and then I'd come out. We'd have it going to the point that we probably could afford for me. It only went a year, and I ended up quitting my job. It just did much better than we expected to. We had some personnel issues. We were going to turn somebody over, and we just said, why replace them? Let me just go and do the work now. So it was 1 year that my wife ran it almost exactly, and then I got into it. We were lucky. It was that timing and that location and everything. It really took off very quickly. It was an existing location we bought from another owner, but it had only been there for a year.
Oh, okay.
And the other owner actually owned another location that was one of the top performing locations in the franchise system at that point, in North Arlington, and he had opened this one kind of to protect his territory. and then he was selling both of them. And somebody else bought the big one in the North Arlington, and we bought the one that only been open a year. So we pretty much got a business that didn't have a lot of problems, that over the years had operated and had issues, but also had enough revenue that it was pretty much close to break even when we bought it.
Okay.
Because it was already existing. And we really didn't pay much more for it than we did if we had bought a brand new one, had gone in and opened a new fast side franchise.
Great.
So it was a little bit more, but not considerably considering the deal we got. Where it was compared to opening from scratch, starting with nothing.
So where were y'all with regard to kids and all that? What were the ages or?
Okay, so that was 95. So we had two children that were in their teens at that point. They would have been 15 and 14.
Okay.
So high school, obviously. And then we also had our youngest daughter, who was 6. She was born in 89, so she was 6 at the time. So it was kind of an interesting dynamic. I hear more stories now about all the things that went on when the older ones were babysitting the younger ones at home, and some of the things that I never heard about, my wife knew about, but I never heard about some of the things. I know our younger one at one point called up my wife when she saw her that evening, said, "I want a new babysitter, my sister's mean," or something like that. So it was kind of interesting. So, and the older two, though, the good thing was they were old enough that fairly quickly on they came to work in the business a little bit. So
that's cool.
Well, did both of them work? I think they both worked there at some point.
Yeah.
So, but not a lot. They just helped out when we needed things and things like that.
Yeah. So balancing work life, family life, then continuing where you kind of melded the two a little bit, and just all that good business owner stuff. And I assume you liked it. That you liked it a lot.
It was great. It was
okay.
we kind of had goals in our mind when we bought it, where it would go, how quickly it would go there, and it from day one exceeded what we expected it to do. So
what's the key to that? What do you think you can attribute that to?
We had a good location, for one thing, the franchise itself was a very good franchise, had a very good reputation. We were in South Arlington at the time, very big growth in that area, a lot of things going on. And then on top of that, we did take care of our customers. That was the key to it. If we got a customer, there weren't many that ever left us. If they had other stuff, they came back to us because we did a good job. We had a good team and we did a good job taking care of them. So.
And then I know this because I've known you for so long. You're very active in the community as well.
That is true. Yes, I'm very active, or was very active in the community.
Still,
at the time.
Sure.
Yeah. That probably got some business our way. I'm sure it did, but most of our bigger customers really were not even Mansfield people. Most of our biggest customers were South Arlington. I had some big later on. As I got into it more and had my niche in hospitals, I had hospitals all over DFW. I was doing a lot of work with. So anyhow.
So you got into real estate a little bit too at some point because you built the building that you were in, and let's talk about that for sure.
So we originally started out when we bought the business. It was already in a strip center in South Arlington, had 1,300 square feet. We immediately outgrew that. We moved, so we bought in 95, we moved in 98 across the street to a bigger location that was 2,000 square feet, and we were like in hog heaven. We were like, this is the greatest thing ever. So we have so much room now. So then when as leases go with landlords, I got aggravated with some of the things that were going on, and I decided that in order to get out of what was happening with a landlord sticking expenses to you I didn't think I should have been paying, I decided to build my own building. So I searched, and we did build a small shopping center in South Arlington in 2005, and moved into it. Left where we were, moved into that. So that was our third location. At that point, we had 3,600 square feet, I think, 36 of the 9,000 square feet.
Right, other tenants as well. Right.
So we had 3 other tenants, and really, this part of the real plan was, and this is something as we go through this, you'll see that you can make plans, but they change as life goes on. So the real plan in my mind was to own the shopping center, get it rented, all that, and eventually, not right away, but eventually sell the fast signs and live off the shopping center.
Right.
Okay? So we built it and moved into 2005, and in 2006 I sold the shopping center. So
Really quickly, yeah.
yeah, because somebody offered me. Anyhow, it was on the market, but long story. But anyhow, we ended up selling the shopping center and still had the fast signs, of course. So you never know what you're going to do, because like I said, my ultimate plan when I did that was to keep the shopping center and eventually just have it as income every year, So,
but I think one of the keys there is that you kept an open mind, which I think as business owners is important. That you evaluate the situations as they arise. Correct?
Right.
Yeah.
And again, we timed that well because we sold in 2006. Sure.
You're right.
A year and a half later, things kind of. So, and the reason why we sold it. It had an empty space still. It had 3 other spaces, and one of them had never been rented. And it actually went on a website to rent that space. But the real estate guy said, well, I'm going to list it for sale too. Would you sell the center? And I said, well, if the price is right, I'll sell anything.
Sure.
So the price was right. We got an offer on it fairly quickly after it was put on there, and the price was right. And we kind of looked at that. We kind of made all our profit for about 10 years worth of profit in one transaction really at that point.
So, yeah. So it worked out
and
really
we didn't
well.
have the aggravation of trying to rent that last space that hadn't been rented. So
yeah, you weren't a landlord anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At that point for that building.
Sure.
Correct. So.
And then somewhere in there, I remember us talking about transition, about what you would do with the business. And I don't know if you remember this, but there for a while we were thinking, well, it just runs great. I'll just never sell it, and maybe hire a really good manager. You remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was probably 2010, 2015.
I think so. Yeah.
My goal was to find a manager.
Yep.
And somebody that had some interest in it, and we would keep the business, but I could back out of it slowly but surely a little bit, but it would still throw off enough income that why get rid of it? Because it threw off so much income, and it was like we could afford to hire a manager and still have plenty of income for ourselves if we backed away and just let somebody run it for us.
So this is another one of those plans. There's a trend here.
Exactly.
This is a good plan.
Yeah, it was a good plan. And I actually hired 1 or 2 people. I know I hired 1 at least.
At least 2, I thought. But
well, at one point I hired my sister, but that was before that. But I don't think the plan was ever that with her. But she had been manager at one point in the mid 2000s. But I did hire 1 person. She had Fast Signs corporate and Fast Signs experience. And the idea was even give her part ownership as time went on. She only lasted 6 months and she left.
Yeah. Okay.
We had kind of a difference in management style. So I think that may have been the only person. There may have been another one somewhere along the way that I thought could move into that, but it never happened.
So cloning didn't work.
No.
And then where we
my children, none of them were interested.
Sure.
That was probably the biggest thing. None of my children were interested in it. The younger daughter never worked in it at all. She didn't even want to work there in high school. She worked at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
So that was never an option on our books. It's a lot of other owners do have that option. In fact, I knew a lot of owners that transitioned to the next generation and things like that and did it that way.
They did. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And just sitting here thinking about it, it was about in there that in that time frame when you were thinking that direction, you really started like accumulating funds individually as well and trying to get, money saved up for yourself for retirement and things like that.
We'd always done that.
We'd always done it, but ramped it up pretty good with the anticipation.
Well, really,
we were going to do that.
What happened was when we sold the shopping center, we took that money and we bought another building,
right?
Okay, in Oregon. But this is one of the things I look back on now, and I'm like, I knew nothing at the time because I didn't know anything about cap rates. I didn't know what to look for. I didn't know anything about this when buying real estate.
Yeah.
I honestly wish I had done real estate earlier on and gone and bought some even with almost 100% debt, and by now they'd be paid off and they'd be I wish I'd done more of that earlier on. If I had anything to tell anybody, that would be what I'd tell them. But anyhow, so we bought that building that with the proceeds from selling the building here. And that building was more a vacation home, but had some other income coming in off it that would offset it.
Yeah.
So anyhow, but we didn't buy that building with the intention, this is going to be like what we retire on, and we'll be able to make money off this building.
Yeah, but then you end up buying a second building as well.
But then we end up
Did
buying
lot
a
better on
second
that.
building. Yes,
Yeah.
that one we did a lot better on, and that one actually makes money, and we have income. Yeah.
And not only
So-
that, but you spend a lot of your time in Oregon as well.
Yeah, less now, but anyhow,
Yeah.
but we did. Yeah, we do. And my wife would like to spend more time there.
Sure.
So.
Yeah.
But the accumulation of wealth was more through those sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, we got them where through the years, we figured out ways to get them paid off, and we don't owe anything on any of those buildings.
Right. Yeah.
So, which is, like I say, if you're starting earlier, you can buy one even with debt, but by 10, 15, 20 years out the road, you've paid it off anyhow, and then you still have the income off it.
Yeah.
So,
So it's time value of money, starting early, using leverage smartly on appreciating assets,
Right.
all that kind of stuff
Right.
that we all wish we knew
when we were 25.
Exactly. Earlier than we learned.
Instead of 45 or 50.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely.
But,
Yeah.
so that, I mean, we're honestly looking at selling those buildings now.
Right.
And one of the things, I mean, literally right now, and one of the things we're talking about, me and the real estate guy out there, is how do you value them? Because they have more than just a typical cap rate of a commercial building, and they're on a river, and they're an old town. I mean, they're just kind of. So we're talking about that right now, trying to figure out how we value them exactly. So,
Yeah. So real estate becomes a big part of a lot of business owners' lives. You know,
Right.
not only for the property they have, but then also through exchanges and things like that. No
Right.
question. All right. So fast forwarding through there a little bit, and then from there, the decision kind of to sell, as I recall, happened kind of quickly.
Well, this is what happened. It's very interesting because again, my wife and I, had kind of talked early 2015. We kind of said, we got to start thinking about when we're going to really do this or not do it. I was probably a little burnt out, but we had pretty much decided a 5-year plan. We pretty much decided our goal was get it sold around 2020, 2020, but we really weren't doing anything active or anything like that at that point to do anything to do that. I mean, our financials were clean. We didn't run a ton of stuff through the business to that we had to start thinking about, we need to pull this out so they look better. Our financials were always fairly clean. So then in the middle of 2015, somebody approached us about buying it.
Mm-hmm.
And that deal never happened. I mean, they were, I don't know, they never made a real offer, to be honest with you, after spending a month or two talking to them about it. So then we kind of went back and regrouped and kind of looked at everything and kind of said, if this sells for the right amount, we can probably do this right now. Let's start thinking about it. So we officially put it on the market, I think, in September of 15.
Okay.
And I'm trying to think, so it may have been later than that, because we didn't really have any deals till spring of 16.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure it took all that time, but I think we did officially October, somewhere in there. We put it on. By that I mean we notified the franchisor that we wanted to sell it, and they actually did some things to help us and things like that, and kind of did that at that point. So, and then it sold in April of 17. So it really was about 18 months from the time we officially said we're putting this thing for sale to sell it. Okay, or that was actually closed.
Okay.
We had a number of deals about 6 months in, 5-6 months in, that we went through that came and went, so, as you know.
Yeah.
And when the last deal was actually inked in December of 16, but took till April to get it closed. So, and that was mostly SBA stuff. So
stressful stuff, kind of.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I wasn't dying to get out, but you know how it is. Once you kind of decide you're going to make a change, you're kind of ready to have it happen. The biggest thing with it is you were at the mercy of banks and all this kind of stuff that you really can do a lot about to get them moving. I will say that, that's one thing you have to be ready for is don't think with an asset like this, you don't say, I'm going to sell it. And it's not like when trading in a car, that tomorrow I get it sold. You got to kind of think long term and realize it's going to take a little while to do it.
Yeah, it's a complex transaction.
And it's a very complex transaction, yes. And honestly, I am not a fan of lawyers, and I had never really dealt with lawyers before, but I did get a lawyer when we sold the floor.
Surround yourself with some people that know what they're doing. Can work out well.
Exactly, yes, and I appreciate his work and everything he did.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But it was probably, I would say, it's kind of like a boat. The best thing I ever did was buy it, but the second best thing I ever did was sell it. You know what I mean?
So there was a lot of relief when you finally got it done.
Yeah.
You're happy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I guess is the opposite of the boat. The boat, the best thing you ever did was sell it, and the second best was buy it. So.
Sure.
But anyhow, so so when it was done and over, it was nice to get it done and over, and but I honestly went through this thing the first month or two that I didn't know what I was going to do with myself. So I was, I really was like, that will never happen. No way. I'll be happy. No, there was probably about 2 or 3 months that I was kind of like, okay, what do I do today when I wake up?
Yeah.
I have nothing to do. So
maybe a little bit of nervousness about what to do, or what was it exactly, and how did you get out of it?
It was more, I don't think I was ever particularly nervous about like financially what we were going to do and if we were going to be okay or not, which is a good position to be
Absolutely.
in, because I know a lot of businesses, even though you work your heart out, for many, many, many years, you don't walk away with enough to really live on the rest of your life. So, so that wasn't really ever part of it. I think it was just a matter of, like I say, getting up and saying, I need to do something worthwhile with my life today, not just go watch TV or do something, you know what I mean? I need to do something that I think is worthwhile. And we spent more time with our grandkids. That first year we spent a lot of time traveling. We were building a house. We decided we'd start building a house. So I was busy with those sort of things, but there were still days, especially those first couple months, I was kind of like, what do I do now? So
it wasn't long after that I think we met and talked and stuff, and you were up and you'd found a way to fill that time.
Oh, with my new business. Yeah. So we sold in April of 17. We knew we had some trips planned, and we went for about 6-8 months, and I really was like, I kind of in the back of my mind all along, like people that asked me when I was selling, what are you going to do? I kind of all along said, well, I'll probably start doing some bookkeeping, accounting for some people since I'm an accountant and have the numbers background. But I didn't really do anything with it in the beginning because I mean, even though I kind of was like, what am I going to do today? I still wanted some time to relax,
Yeah.
And plus we were building a house and all these kind of things. It was nice to have the time to be there and not have to worry about, I've got to go to work every day and come home at, 6 o'clock at night and see what's going on. So anyhow, so really it was, I had sent some feelers out late in 17 to some people saying, hey, I'm going to start doing bookkeeping and this, that. If you're interested, let me know. And got nothing at that point, which was fine. 1 or 2 people responded and just said, I'll keep it in mind. And then it was like perfect timing in March of 18, one of those people reached back out to me and said, our bookkeeper's terrible, we need to make a change, let's talk. And it was perfect timing because we had literally closed on our house that week or something, so we were kind of done with that part of our life. We had to still move, and that was about it. So, it was, the timing couldn't have been better. So that's where we got started. And of course, it was originally just a thing to keep me busy here and there. Mm-hmm. So I was still using my brain and not totally having nothing to do. And now it's become a real business that I got to work on every day. And have brought my daughter in to help with.
Yeah. So the workload got up to a point, and now all of a sudden you have a business. Well, first of all, it's different from your previous business.
Oh yeah, much different.
Much different, because technically you don't really have any employees.
Right. Well, I have my daughter now.
Yeah. So that was perfect timing then.
Yeah, it really was. I couldn't ask for better timing, to be honest with you, because it was really, we were just finishing up a few things with the house, and it was like, yeah, I can kind of get into this now. If it had happened when we were still in it just would have been a lot tougher to do. So, but that's why I put the feelers out when I did, because I kind of knew that the next year, in 18, I was going to try and start this thing up. So, and all it is bookkeeping business. I mean, it's really, but there's a huge difference between it and the business I had before, and that is that I'm not tied to opening my business every morning and being there at a certain time and unlocking the doors and customers and all that. We kind of do things when we want in our own time. If I to me, the weekends are during the week. I sometimes don't work on weekdays, but I work on the weekend, and vice versa. And
you can travel because you can do it.
I can do it from anywhere I want, exactly. Because I'm not having to open front doors. When we go out and spend, like in January, we spent 2 or 3 weeks in Oregon, and I call that my Western office. So, so it's a lot different, and of course, especially thank goodness nowadays with internet and everything else, you can just do anything stuff anywhere you want. And I also thank goodness through the COVID thing we've experienced for the last year, it really didn't affect my life any. I still did everything I needed to do, and didn't have to deal with again what all I'd have to do by having a business that I had to open the doors and let people in and all those kind of things. So,
but you've almost been too good at it.
Yeah,
right.
It's become a full-time job, which really wasn't my initial intentions. I just wanted something so I wasn't just sitting around doing nothing all day long.
Yeah.
But and part of the reason why is I somewhat had a customer base, built-in customer base, because a lot of my clients are fast signs owners.
Of course, which you have a lot of experience with.
Have a lot of experience.
They all know each other and they refer and all that.
So that was kind of a great fit. And honestly, one of the reasons why I did it was I had a fast lines owner tell me one time that I knew, and we were in a group where we used to exchange financials and things like that and help each other out. Mm-hmm. And she told me one time, she goes, this is what you need to do for other fast signs, because my financials are always very clean and good and everybody else's were a bunch of junk. So so that is really kind of where I got the idea at the time. And again, most of my customers currently are that, and I know their business better than anybody else that can do their work for them. So it's kind of a great fit. Now we have expanded. I brought my daughter in earlier, about 6-8 months ago, so I'd been at it for a little over 2 years. And I have a daughter who has a degree in accounting, so she was doing some other things that wasn't using her degree.
Yeah.
And those weren't working out real well, so she can work from home. She has kids. She works when she wants. She works when she doesn't want. And it's worked out real well for her too. But I've really gotten to the point where I need her, because we have so much business that I need her to do some of it. I can't do it all anymore. So so it's working out real well for both of us. And and she's actually brought in some new customers too, so new clients. So it's really become a little bit more than I expected, and somewhere along the way we figure out how to do it so I can go back to working more part-time.
But it's fun though. You like doing that stuff.
I mean, that's the other thing about the business. There's much less stress. It's something I've always liked doing. Believe it or not, I've always enjoyed doing accounting. I know that's kind of one of those things some people look at and go, "What, are you crazy?" And so it's a lot different, and it's something I don't like in the morning go, oh, I gotta go to work. I just kind of do what I want to do when I want to do it, but I work almost every day now. So So
well, that's awesome. Well, thanks for going through all that with us from kind of start to finish. Congratulations on being not only successful as an owner of a business, but then also being successful in selling it.
Yes.
And yet even starting another business and learning what life's like after that.
And the good thing is when we sold it, as you know, but I'll tell, we sold it in such a way that if I had never started another business, we would have been fine.
Right. That's key.
We set ourselves up in such a way, honestly, partially through some of the things you've done, that we are, again, I've never had a concern that, oh wow, if I live to be 110, am I going to have enough money? And so it really, the other business is pretty, if anything, prolonged me needing to touch any of my retirement stuff, refunds or anything.
Oh,
so,
yeah. Well, it certainly has.
So that's really what it's done. I mean, and every time we come in to see you, it goes out further than we can go. So we can live. So because of this business. So so I think it's worked out real well. I probably another 5 to 10 years, and I probably can continue to do it without too much, without too much problem, and I'll probably keep doing it. So
well, that's great. Mm-hmm. Well, again, thanks for being on today. I hope everybody enjoyed our talk with Dan Phillips. If there's somebody that are you open for doing books and stuff?
Oh yeah, sure. I can't say no.
So I can't either. So how does somebody get in touch with you if they're interested in talking to you about some bookkeeping and things like that?
Well, our business is SIMDA Service Corporation, and our website is SIMDASC, so that's SIMDASC.com.
Okay.
So you can email me at dan@simdasc.com. So.
Okay. Well, great.
Yeah.
So if you have any further questions for Dan, certainly you can reach out to him, and I'm sure he'd visit with you and see how he could help.
Yeah, if you want to talk about business, buying, selling, whatever. Or real estate.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
That's awesome.
So.
Well, thanks for that. Thanks for being a resource and for being such a big help. Again, this is Rob Schulz, your host, Dan Phillips, P&L, Priorities and Lifestyle. Hope you have a great day. Thanks.